Joining us now is Mark Olshan, Associate Executive Vice President of B'nai B'rith and Director of the B'nai B'rith Center for Senior Services. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So our senior housing program really goes back more than 50 years. How has the original focus of that program evolved over the years up until the present day?
Well, Dan, the original goal of the senior housing program was to provide the B'nai B'rith membership in local communities around the country the means to provide affordable, safe, and secure quality apartments for income-qualified individuals without regard to their race, religion, or ethnic backgrounds. In partnership with the federal government, who provided the financial means for actually developing and building the local properties, the B'nai B'rith membership provided what we call the sweat equity that ensured that the housing would reflect the values and ideals of that specific community. They basically pulled it together, served on the board of directors, and oversaw the activities within that property. Relatively soon after the first property was opened in 1971, we became the largest national Jewish sponsor of HUD subsidized housing in the country, with a combined network of properties offering over 5,000 apartments to qualified individuals. As the government funding for the program has decreased over the years, we've become increasingly focused on preserving and improving our network of properties such that they can remain viable and accessible to the new wave of qualified individuals that will continue to need them. We continue to recapitalize and refinance our programs to meet our future network needs well into the next 40 years. In essence, we've moved from mostly building new buildings to preserving what we currently have. So preservation has now become the new buzzword.
A quality of life for residents in a program like this really is at the basis of why we want to provide that housing. So how do the residents and their families benefit from the program?
Well, the goal is not simply to provide an apartment building, but really to create a sense of community and welcoming within that building. Our charge is to ensure that residents can live independently for as long as possible, such as to not require a premature move to a more institutional setting. We've become more focused over the years on making certain residents are linked to community resources and programs that promote independence and healthy aging. Aging in place, as we call it, has really become our mantra. To that end, the national staff provide a variety of training programs throughout the year for members of the local community boards of directors, the staff and management professionals, and even a resident leadership training retreat for residents of the buildings that come together to learn how to become more productive in their individual properties. The whole idea there is to keep people, again, as active, involved, and as healthy as we can. That's our focus inside the buildings.
How do we work with Congress to improve the quality of life for our residents? I know that a number of members of Congress who are representing districts where there are B'nai B'rith housing properties have actually visited and seen with their own eyes exactly how the housing program works. So how is it that we weave a relationship with Congress into this program?
That's a difficult issue only because oftentimes when we go up to visit with some of these offices, they're not necessarily overly supportive of the money that needs to be spent in order to maintain and develop these properties. Nobody doubts the need, but right now, financial priorities are everything. And I don't have to tell you and those that are going to be watching this later on what the needs have been over the years. When I started, we had a federal housing policy. We don't have that anymore. So now we have to advocate to the individual offices to get their support to help develop programs to keep these programs alive and to keep monies available just to maintain the people currently living in the properties. So our staff meets regularly with the Hill staff. We invite members of Congress and their staffs to the buildings and have regular tours and meetings with the residents to let the residents interact directly with members of Congress to articulate their needs and their interests and be able to develop a dialogue between the congressional representatives and the individuals who represent their districts. So that is something we've been focusing on very strongly in the last number of years. Now, there is one more benefit, and it's something that people really forget about when they're talking about these programs. If you're talking about 5,000 units, and you're talking about over 5,500 residents living in buildings around the country, remember, most of these residents have family members and friends beyond the people that they know and meet in the buildings. So for every individual that live in our building, we're not only helping that individual, but that assistance translates to their friends, their families, and everybody that really comes in contact. So if you multiply the benefits, over time, and it really means that we are impacting a significantly larger number of people than just those that actually live in the property. And I think that's something that doesn't get articulated that often, but I think it's very important to recognize that these programs go well beyond just the individuals who live in the properties.
Well, Mark, I can't think of anything more important really than looking after the well-being, the welfare of seniors. Our program really meets many of those needs in terms of the housing program. We appreciate all you do. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.